Here we are back for the final installment, the final video of Chatsworth. Today we're going to talk to you about the setting blocks and then also the flying geese units that are used to put this together. So behind us you will see that is it's a new fabric line that will be coming, and we will be having kits for this particular one, but probably not till springtime. So this is a new holiday line that's coming out, and we'll be having kits for this one. So this is another different version of this wonderful Chatsworth block of the month.
And it has been a fun project to do, hasn't it,
Marcia?
Marcia?
Now you're going to want to stay till the very end because we have Doug's, the extra bonus projects that are in this book. We have those here, and then we have the ones that we have made from the blocks that you've been watching all the whole time here on Facebook and on YouTube. So at the very end, we're going to go through it. We've got a whole stack of things to show you. So Joy, let's get started with the block settings.
Okay, so what makes this quilt so amazing is we have been making all of the center squares as we go along. And now we're going to add the star motifs that are around the background area. And they're done very clever. So let's take a closer look at that. First up, we have the triangles here. Hold on a second. They're right here. You need,
but it still is showing. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we need to make these units. And as always, Doug wants to make sure we're nice and accurate. This time I did not use AccuQuilt because it wasn't possible. These are made by putting together the accent color and the background color together. You are going to mark a line, sew on each side, and create this square. You will need to trim this up, and you're going to need to trim it to 3 1/4 inches. When you have all of those units made, you're going to go ahead and you're going to sew a square to it and press as directed in the book, and then you are going to add the last bit. You're going to add the rectangle, and all of this needs to be trimmed to the specified size in the book. And it's a little bit light on my white background, so let me put it here. So this is going to make up all of your corner units that are part of this block. And I better turn it the right direction here. So you are going to have 4 of these blocks, and you need to pay attention to the instructions in the book because this rectangle does rotate different directions in each of the positions. So this star bit is going to complete your circle. Next up, let me move this big block out of the way. We need to make this unit. And you'll see that there are 2 different colored triangles here on each side, and they need to match the unit of your block. So if I have this section here, you have to make sure that the triangle peaks match the corner that you have. So you have to pay attention when you cut these. So this one's going to have a block that has, like, in my case, the presents on each side. Here we've got the green checks for me and the words. Whatever you have in this block on your square, the triangles on either side have to match. So you have to pay attention and be organized. Now to put these together, you have another unit, which I haven't talked about yet. You have another one of those squares, and you have 2 white triangles to make the goose. And when we go to sew these, you have to create this shape, and then we have the other part of the flying goose units that are going to get sewn on here. So again, just like all of our other pieces, we're going to sew all of the left sides first, press that back, and then sew all of the right sides and press that back. And we're going to get this big goose unit, and it is going to be oversized. So you're going to want to trim it to size. And what I used, and you can use a variety of techniques, but I used this ruler, the Stripology ruler, because it has a point in the middle. So it's able to set the point of my goose right in the middle and then trim up the two sides, rotate it once and trim again. Or you could use, I've marked on here, you see here we have the crosshairs of a 45-degree angle. You can also set this on here and trim.
We gotta move this up a little bit.
Okay, thank you much. You can trim across. You can rotate your cutting mat and trim your height. And then you can go ahead and trim the sides. Now, the great thing about this ruler is it's exactly 8.5 inches. That's what you need to have. And on this ruler, and I'm not sure if I can show it on camera, because it is 8.5 inches, right on this Creative Grids ruler, there is a white circle. So if you put that right in the middle of your block, and you make sure the top white line is in the middle of your goose, you can trim here, and you can trim here, and you have a perfectly sized flying goose unit for this finishing quilt. So we've created these units, and then we can start assembling. So you're going to start by assembling your two side pieces. In my case, they're not those two pieces. It would be this one, which I did not complete. And then we have you have that piece, and lastly the top piece. You're going to put your side pieces on first, and then you're going to, yep, they're just pinned, because you have to sew these outer blocks to your top and bottom pieces, and they go on last. And you want to pay attention to how these star points go. I think that is correct, and this one is here too, because it completes your accent color should complete this great big starburst unit. And actually, I think the problem is this one. I put it down upside down.
There we go.
So you have to pay really close attention to make sure your block is all assembled equally. But
yep, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the ones that I did too. If you all remember, I made mine with the 2.5-inch strips. So in order to get this all to work with 2.5-inch strips, by the time I got to doing it, the fabric was gone from the store. And she had some issues
and
with that
I
too.
will talk about mine as well in the finishing.
So these with my 2.5-inch strips. Now, I had to piece these, which was no big deal. And I'll show you on some of the finished projects that I did. Because this is not, you can't, no way can you get this piece out of a 2.5-inch strip.
That is right.
So I'm just letting you know, if you're using the 2.5-inch strips, works great for in here with a little bit of yardage for the center ones. But when you come to doing the rest of this, yes, it's possible, but I did have to do some extra piecing.
And someone had the question out there, can you do this with the AccuQuilt? And the answer is no, because they are sized a little bit differently. You need to follow the instructions in the book, but
good instructions in
they
here.
are excellent instructions. Everything is oversized, and you will trim to fit. Trim to the specified size. And I'm going to emphasize that one more time. When you make your block, it's important you trim it to the size Doug has written, because otherwise you are going to have too large a pieces when you go to put everything together, and that will throw everything off. So again, pay attention, lay it out, look at it, maybe take a picture, pay attention to your accent pieces, because they do have to complete a certain pattern to get the finished look. All right.
But those finished blocks are so beautiful. They're so beautiful. You take an 8.5-inch block and make this great big star.
You do, and it comes together in the end really fast. Now, the geese. Do you want to talk first, Marcia?
No, I'm going to let you talk about traditional piecing of the geese, and then I'm just going to touch a little bit on the paper piecing papers.
All right, so I have here, I'll hold this up like this first of all. So oops, that's okay, I can go here. So here we start out with one big square, and you're instructed to cut it into 4. So that is your first step in the process. Then you are instructed to cut your strips. Now, everybody's interpretation is going to be a little bit different, but you are going to add strips to this piece. So the first one is you're going to add um, the short piece, and what I did is I lined it up with the top of the triangle. On the second piece, you're also going to line your strip up with the top of the triangle. Now, I did not iron this unit until I was completely done because it is prone to stretching. So I have my left piece and my right piece.
Got to make sure these little tails are hanging off the bottom.
Yes, do not trim. Do not trim this
until you're all done.
Right. So then you're going to add the other part of your goose section, and maybe I should leave that black under here so you can see it better. Guess I can't anyway. But when we go to put these on, you are going to flip this over, and what I want you to know is you want to line up the triangle with the bottom of the black, and you're going to sew, and you're going to finger press that open, and then you're going to add this piece, and you're going to line up with the bottom of the black, sew a seam here, flip it open. And I think I have pictures here of that. So here is another one to that point. So we've got the one side on, and then I'm adding the second side, and you're going to end up with an oversized triangle again. This one has been trimmed, and so I used, again, this really lovely ruler. Most rulers do have this 45-degree intersection, and on this one there's a 1/4-inch seam allowance. So I trimmed here first, then I rotated my cutting mat, not my ruler, set it on top, and I trimmed it to the 4.5 inches. And then lastly, we have to trim it to his specified size, which is 8.5. And we have on here, again, the circle, because this is an 8.5-inch ruler, and the line. So I put the white line on the bottom, the white line up at the middle, and I trimmed. Actually, it was this direction because...
Right. This is 8.5 here.
Yeah, 8.5 here. So that made it really easy. Then, lastly...
Well, let me show how to put the other ones together, and then we'll go to
Then we'll go to the next step.
So then Doug also has these lovely papers. So for paper piecing, I did both methods. You know, whatever is this one. If you struggle with making these pieced half square triangle units, probably the paper piecing is foolproof.
Right,
truthfully.
Exactly.
So he has great instructions in here. And like, if you can see this picture here, this is the one as it is in Chatsworth, but you can also use this to make big, this size flying geese, which are 8.5 by 4.5, just with the 3 fabrics to make those as well. So when you go to paper piecing, I just did a quick little thing here. So we start, and he's got all the directions here that are just fine. You start with this red triangle. He's got cutting instructions over here, and you glue this one on, and you start sewing these on, and then trimming with this. I use this ruler because when you need to trim, you're going to, I'll take this out. You're going to fold your paper. I think I can't do that one. Anyways, you're going to fold your paper so you know right where the line is. So you're going to put this ruler on the paper, and you can use a cardboard and use the other add a quarter ruler too, whichever you like to do. It's just like any other paper piecing, and then you turn it over here like this, and then you'll just trim it off, and then you just keep sewing on the lines until eventually you get this, and then at the very last you're going to put, and I just use scraps on this, and at the very end you're going to sew this one on. You turn it over, take it to your sewing machine, and you sew on the line, and then you're going to, like, okay, so then you're also going to trim it again, because this might be hanging out here like that or whatever. Trim it and then fold it back, and then you have your 2 sky pieces. What's very important on this is that, again, you cut, because you got to have these things hanging out on the bottom, and you got to have plenty hanging out on the top. And then when you're all done paper piecing, you just go ahead and cut on the outside and you are done with that. So
And you have a perfect size goose.
you do. So that is how you use these papers, which I think are pretty cool too.
So you're going to go ahead then after you have all your geese made. Now everyone has different kits. I chose to stick with a Christmas fabric, and I have red and greens, and I chose to use my scrappy backgrounds because that's how my quilt was constructed. You're going to put 4 of these together, and he has you pressing away from the tips of the geese. That makes it really nice, so you get a nice crisp point going on. And then you are going to go ahead and you're going to have a unit where you sew your background strips to the sides of these geese units. Now when I cut my background pieces, I cut a 16.5-inch strip and then cut my strips because that made this stretch less. I think you should have plenty in your background fabrics to go that way.
You do.
Rather than cutting 2.5 inches and then 16.5-inch chunks. So I did a big 16.5-inch chunk and then cut my strips and added them. So we have that piece. Then, Marcia, it comes the fun part. We get to put it all together. I put it up on my design wall and laid it out. And again, in the instructions, you're going to have some rows that start with a wide border and some rows that end with a wide border. So this one is waiting for that last block that I haven't sewn yet because I was saving to show you.
And our camera's not wide enough to show them all.
Right. So here's the last row of my quilt. Here are the other 3. I'm going to stand up. And after we release this, I can finish my quilt.
Oh, that's very nice.
So I'm going to rotate it because you can't see it all anyway. But on this one, you're going to have those big long strips in between. And
these like sashing strips.
These sashing strips. So I cut mine longer than I needed because sometimes things don't come out the way we plan. But when I sew them, I always put a pin where it should end up, and I put a couple of clips or pins as I go to make sure that my sewn blocks, if they need to stretch a little bit to meet the exact size, I can do that. If they need to shrink a little bit, I can do that as well. I don't just willy-nilly sew, but I always give myself, because I would never want to end up short. So I always cut my pieces just a little longer. I actually put a pin where it should end so I know where my target is. And you just sew them together one strip at a time.
Very nice.
Okay, so that, I think, is the wrap-up of our construction. So now we're on our big reveal, right?
Yes, we are. So we hope you've enjoyed this. Now, Doug, we didn't have the book probably for quite a few months before,
right.
While we were doing this. And then he has these bonus projects, which I think are absolutely amazing. So these are some that he has made. This is from the book. So this is a little smaller lap type quilt or wall hanging. So he's put them together, and as you can see, this is the flying geese blocks are in the middle and arranged in a different way. So this is extremely cute. I thought I made one of these too, didn't I?
I believe you did.
Do I have it here?
I don't know, but we'll find out.
I don't know. Oh, if I do have it here. Well, anyways, we'll have to put that in the comments. I do have it, but I don't know where I put it. Okay, so this is one of the ones that I made. So this is the long table runner and put together. And then he's got it done in these fabrics. So this is the same thing. You know? So that's a big long table runner. And of course you could make this shorter, however you would like to.
So that's the neat thing. You wouldn't have to make a big quilt. You could finish your...
That one took 6 blocks. So I had these 6 little blocks left together. This you won't find in the book. This is just the leftover blocks that I put some sashing in between and just a little fun little table topper for those. Now, if you will remember, I don't have my other one. If you'll remember, these were the blocks that I was making And this is just the blocks. This is just all 12 blocks put together in a circle, and I made one of the big ones, and I just did a 16 patch in the middle to make one of the big ones, and I surrounded it with all the little blocks that we made. This also isn't in the book. All right, and then we have this one, which is Doug's. We're going to have to stand up for this one. This is Doug's, made just with the flying geese. Just another thing that you can do. This is in the book. So lots of fun. Like I said, I'm missing one of mine. I don't know what happened to it, but I will put that picture in the comments so you can see it.
And then I have one more comment.
Yes.
So Marcia mentioned she had to do some strip sewing because I made my quilt very scrappy, different than what the original plan was. When I cut my pieces for the strips for my geese, I cut at night and I looked at my pattern twice, but I cut my one strip too short on almost all of my triangles. So here's the deal. There was no more fabric in our store to recut my pieces. What I want you to know out there is that often there are ways to recover, and just simply by shifting my piece on the position of that triangle a little bit, I was able to get my block to the size I needed, but it didn't become as oversized as it normally would have. And on some of my blocks, the points of my geese are trimmed off a little bit. But you know what, Marcia?
Doesn't matter.
Done is better than perfect,
That's
and it's
right.
going to keep my family
warm. You want
warm.
to grab one of those ones that I did? I'll show them where I had to piece because I used
Which quilts?
One of mine.
Okay. Anyway, I just want you to know that there are ways to recover.
Maybe not
in
this
your
one.
life.
When life gives you lemons, then you make lemonade, don't you? It's one of the...
I put him so far away. Hold on. Is this one maybe? But because, we're human, and I know that based on the questions we have, that occasionally we run short, and I did actually run short on fabric, and I had to piece a little bit on the end of my strip to finish my project, but that's okay. Because when it's all together in your quilt and it's quilted, and especially after the first wash, nobody's going to know. And back in our grandma's days, they would have even put a piece of fabric that, oh my goodness, Marcia, would not have matched. It would have maybe been blue or green or some other color. And you can't even find it.
I can't even find where some of them I had.
Oh, here's one.
Because
right I was looking very closely.
Together some of these. Some of them I had enough for, some I didn't.
So we're talking about right here. You can't see
no,
from
you
your
can't
angle,
really see them, but
I can feel.
To make these big enough. Some of them I had enough, some of them I did not. So anyways, but it's okay. You just have to do what you have to do, I know that a lot of you have come into the store and some of your projects you don't get done right away, and then you come back and you want some more of that fabric, and we don't have any, but there's always, where there's a will, there's a way, isn't there?
Right. That done is better than perfect. We, of course, always aim for that perfect.
Absolutely. So anyways, like I said, I do have the other big project done. I don't know what happened to it. I'm so sorry, but I will put that in the comments. This has been very fun. It's been a fun journey with you to Chatsworth. Doug is now doing this on the Moda site. I believe he's doing another one, not the same as we do, but if you want to join in that one. We also have lots of kits left if you're joining along with him. We have kits for all of our colorways available for you to purchase. And
we of course have the books.
Absolutely.
So there we are.
And we'd love to see we'd love to see some of your finished projects too on our either on our
Pinecone Peeps page.
Right.
Join our private Facebook page or post them in the YouTube comments.
Yeah, we'll put a link below for how you to sign up for the Pinecone Peeps so you can see your projects and everybody else's, plus some other things that are going on in the store. So it's been really fun to share this with you. Thank you so much for bearing with us. And until next time, my name is Marcia, this is Joy, and we are here at Pine Needles Quilt and Sew in Rochester, Minnesota. We're going to keep you in stitches. Thanks so much, everybody.